Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's guest is very special. His name is Randy Schiefer. Randy holds a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology and a Master of Forensic Science degree. He spent 20 years in the United States Air Force as a security policeman and a special agent in the Office of Special Investigation. In March 2020, Randy caught the COVID-19 virus and spent 6 weeks in the hospital. 3.5 weeks were spent in a medically induced coma, on a ventilator, on dialysis, and finally on an extracorporeal membrane oxygenated ECMO machine. With Randy's heart beginning to fail, he was given a 3% chance of surviving, but ECMO and convalescent plasma ultimately saved his life. While in the coma, Randy experienced 3 near-death experiences. He was privileged with the ability to see several deceased relatives and was honored when an unknown deceased veteran chose him to deliver a message to his granddaughter. Randy was able to validate this experience by locating the granddaughter and passing her grandfather's message to her. Randy married his high school sweetheart in 1972. They have 3 marvelous daughters and 3 grandchildren. Let's welcome him, Randy Schiefer. Welcome to my channel, Randy.
Thank you very much. It's so wonderful to be here with you.
Welcome to Europe again.
I know, again, huh? And the Netherlands. I love the Netherlands. I love Amsterdam. Amsterdam is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and the people, not to mention the people here. They're so friendly, huh?
Oh, they're wonderful.
Thank you so much. It's such a great honor to have you here with me.
Oh, thank you.
A heartfelt thank you. And of course, thanks to Peggy for introducing me to you.
Yes, she's a wonderful lady.
Yes, I just texted her just before. I said,
did you? Okay.
I have Randy with me. And she said, I love Randy. Yes.
I'll text her when we get done and say that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, your story has captivated my attention. And I know many of us can relate to that as we are in the middle of this pandemic. We lost so many loved ones in a short period of time.
Oh, definitely. You know, and I'll be the first to admit it's a horrible, horrible disease. It ravaged the whole world. We've lost so many people, but I have to say, COVID saved my life.
Oh,
nice. It saved my life in so many ways. I can't begin to just tell you the different ways that COVID actually saved me. Spiritually, it saved me. I have a better relationship with God now.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer fear death. I did before COVID. I'd actually go into panic attacks when I thought about my own mortality. And to me, it was like a light switch. You know, you turn the light switch off and that's the end. No more light. And that was the way I wanted to believe.
Mm-hmm.
But when you realize that my background is in criminal justice, my world evolves around physical evidence, things that I can see and touch, you know.
Exactly.
And growing up, you know, we weren't real big church goers, you know, when I was growing up. And once I married my wife, we started to go to, you know, the church and things. And I would just go through the motions. You know, I wanted to believe, but yet there was no physical evidence for me to believe. A lot of what we call circumstantial evidence, you know.
I hear that a lot with the crime investigation films.
Yeah, we had circumstantial evidence, which allowed us to, you know, possibly believe that there's something after life. But me, I had to have that physical evidence, something that I could touch. And COVID allowed me to do that. You know, I was able to validate my one NDE that we'll get into. And by validating that, every step of the way, it was validated. And that just relieved my fear totally of death.
That's so nice. So,
and it's wonderful feeling to have that lifted off of your shoulders and not have to worry the anxiety that goes with it. I mean, I had full-fledged panic attacks. You know, I would stomp my feet. I would yell, scream. I mean, I just went into full-fledged panic attacks.
me too. Sometimes I get disoriented because of the panic
Yeah.
attack.
And I really thought it was just me. I thought I was the only person that felt that way.
Oh, really?
And why couldn't others, you know, why, if others believe so deeply and others aren't afraid in death, why am I? And I wore that too for 50 years. And, you know, it was like, as I said, COVID saved me. It saved me in so many levels. I have a deeper relationship and with my wife now. We've been married 49 years.
Yes.
So much deeper relationship with her. And it's been a blessing. I mean, I hate to say it because I know people have suffered, but to me personally, I'm blessed. I was blessed to get it and go through what I went through. Obviously blessed to survive, to be able to share and tell my story.
Exactly.
But and I think that's why they sent me back. I think that's why I wasn't allowed to go further into heaven, because God wanted to send me back to share their story. I wasn't allowed to venture very deep into heaven. Because I wasn't, everybody told me up there when I was there, everybody told me, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here. Now, I never died. You know, I never actually physically died. I never flatlined.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so close that my spirit, I think, was preparing to go, you know, and that's how close I was. Even the doctor said that, I mean, I was sitting on a razor's edge. I could have gone either way.
Yes. The days leading to your near-death experience. Yes, please.
Sure. It was very early, March of 2020 is when I got sick. And I was helping my daughter around her house. And we both started to feel not very well, you know. So we figured, okay, you know, we both ate the same lunch. Maybe we got a little touch of food poisoning or whatever. And so we came home. She drove me home to my house. And I just started to feel very bad, very nauseous. A couple of days later, I lost my sense of smell and sense of taste. I had no interest in eating at all. So it was on March the 23rd is my wife finally talked me into going to the doctor. And I went to see my primary care physician. And he told me that I had the flu. And I explained to him, I said, you know, I've had the flu before. This doesn't feel like the flu. I said, I'm sick. Can I get tested for this COVID back? You know, no, you don't have COVID. He said, we're not going to test you. He says, go home and rest. You have the flu. On a Monday. By Wednesday, I was no better. I mean, I was actually worse because I went back to the doctor. And fortunately, I was able to get a same-day appointment with the physician's assistant. And he examined me and told me the exact same thing. You have the flu. You just need to go home and rest. And I told him the same thing. This doesn't feel like the flu. I'm sick. I'm telling you, I am sick. Can I get tested? No, you're not. We're not going to test you. So that was on a Wednesday, March the 25th. On March the 26th, oldest daughter came by the house to check on me. My wife had gone up to actually my younger daughter's house to help her do some work. And my oldest daughter came over, and my youngest daughter, Lisa, is a nurse. So my oldest daughter, Erin, called her and said, "Dad looks bad." She goes, "He's gray. He really looks sick." So Lisa told her, "Get him to the emergency room." So I went down to the emergency room. Now, that was on the 26th of March, 2020. And I wasn't in the waiting room long before I was back into a cubicle. And my daughter, they wouldn't let my daughter into the hospital because of COVID. They had restrictions on. So I waved goodbye to her and blew her a kiss at the door. And she said, "I'll wait in the car for you." She said, "When you're done, send me a text and I'll come pick you up, but I'll wait in the car." Little did I know that would be the last time I ever saw a loved one for 6 weeks. So I went back into the emergency room, and they took oxygen level. And if you know anything about blood oxygen levels, 98 to 99, that area is normal. Mine was down to 82. And they immediately put me on oxygen and admitted me with bilateral pneumonia, is what I was initially admitted to the hospital for. And I texted my daughter and said, "Hey, they're admitting me into the hospital with pneumonia. Stay in touch." So that was on the 26th of March. The 27th, I remember getting some flowers that my family had sent me. And that's about all I can remember the 27th, because on March the 28th, my oxygen levels, even on oxygen, my oxygen levels were in the high 70s. And they did an emergency intubation on me. So they placed me in a coma, and I would be in that coma for over 20 days. And that was on the 26th, or the 28th, I'm sorry. By March the 30th, I maxed out the ventilator, and they decided to life flight. They flew me by helicopter from the hospital I was at over to a larger hospital. And I went right in for emergency surgery and placed on an ECMO machine. And if you ever heard of the ECMO, basically it's a heart lung. My lungs were completely full of COVID. They were completely white from top to bottom with COVID. So they put me on ECMO because I was on acute respiratory distress. And I went into kidney failure, and I was placed on dialysis at the same time. ECMO allows your lungs to rest. It's a surgical procedure. They go through the right into the ventricle, put us a tube down it, and they pump the blood out into the machine, which oxygenates it and then pushes it back into your body. So it gives your lungs and heart an opportunity to rest and to heal. And I was on that for just shy of 20 days. And the statistics of somebody coming off ECMO is about a 1.5% to 2% chance of you're going to come off of it. So they told my family that I had a 3% chance of living, and they should probably prepare for my demise. And fortunately, is a nurse, and she is very pig-headed, like her dad.
Your youngest daughter, huh?
My youngest daughter, yes. And she wasn't going to take no for an answer. And, growing up, my background, that's how I was. I wasn't going to take no for an answer on anything, and I would pursue things. And that's exactly what she did. My family is absolutely marvelous. I don't know what I was blessed. I got 3 girls, and they all came to support their mother while I was in the hospital. And when when as soon as I was intubated, my daughter, who's a nurse, she's labor and delivery nurse, she knew that I was in trouble. She knew that this was not going to go well.
Yeah.
And she reached out to some friends, other nurses, and one of the ladies that she made contact with, her father is a infectious disease doctor, and he told her right away to get convalescent plasma for me.
Okay. Yeah.
He says, do whatever you can do to get him convalescent plasma. So initially, the hospital said no, that they were not going to do that, that it was experimental, and they weren't going to give me convalescent plasma. So my daughter didn't give up. She had meetings with a lot of the hospital administration, and they finally told her, I said, well, if you can figure out how it works, we'll consider giving it to him. So my kids went to social media.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest daughter took to social media and developed a prayer chain. And she later gave me a map of all around the world. She had people praying for me around the world. 48 states in America, she had people praying for me. Canada, England, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, around the world, people were praying on my behalf. My middle daughter, she took to social media to help find a donor for her dad. And she developed in an email or a Facebook post that went out to over 70,000 people and was shared. I think it was shared somewhere between 20 or 25 additional time that people shared her post. And meanwhile, my youngest daughter was fighting with the hospital, to put it mildly, to be sure that I received the plasma. Well, they had 2 pages of volunteers willing to travel to Florida, where I live, to give me their plasma. That they had COVID,
Mm-hmm.
they survived, and they had antibodies, and that's what I needed, that antibodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And fortunately, they found somebody very local in next town over, and he was a pastor, preacher,
Mm-hmm.
and he stepped up and gave his plasma. Well, our blood donation center here in our local area is called One Blood, and they had never received a request for convalescent plasma. So they had to get somebody trained. So they sent 2 people down to get them trained on how to take convalescent plasma.
Mm-hmm.
And they took this young man's plasma, flew it down about 600-700 miles to another city, Orlando, Florida. They flew it down to Orlando, Florida to get it tested, to be sure that it was the correct match,
Yeah.
and flew it back, only to have the hospital say, no, we're not going to give it to him.
But why did the hospital say no? They never had this experience with this plasma thing.
Yeah, they never had the experience. They said they were not a teaching hospital, and that you had to get emergency authorization for its use. And they weren't willing to go to the FDA to get emergency authorization. So my daughter did. My daughter went to the FDA and put in for an emergency authorization use. So I became the first person in Northwest, where we live, the first person in Northwest Florida to receive convalescent plasma, and the 34th person in the United States to receive it.
I just have goosebumps now. Really?
Yeah. And so they agreed to give it to me, and they gave me the convalescent plasma on Good Friday, the evening of Good Friday.
Okay.
Which was April the 10th. Okay. On Easter, 48 hours later, my lungs were completely clear of COVID. Completely clear.
How is that possible in a short period of time?
The doctors don't know how. They were able to turn off the ECMO machine. Now, I also had a collapsed lung. One of my lungs collapsed as well as a result of this. So, but they were able to get it reinflated. And by Easter, they turned off the ECMO machine and allowed, because two more other things I forgot to tell you happened. My liver was starting to go bad, and my liver started throwing off blood clots. Heart enlarged and wasn't pumping adequately as well. So my heart, my liver, kidney failure, and lung failure, respiratory failure, total organ. I mean, I should have been dead. And on Easter Monday after Easter, my kidneys started to fully function again. They took me off dialysis. And my heart and my liver returned to normal as well. And
I'm sure doctors were speechless about this.
They were just that. They actually called my daughter and said, okay, tell us how you got this convalescent plasma. Tell us how you did it. And she shared with them exactly how she went about doing it and what they needed to do. And they started to give it to other patients. I was the first person placed on ECMO machine with COVID as a COVID patient, first one placed on ECMO. A few days after I was placed on ECMO, two more patients came in, but unfortunately both of those people had died. They both had passed away before they could get them the convalescent plasma. So I was the first patient to walk out of the hospital alive. Everybody else had died.
From
COVID.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So
that's a miracle, huh? It's really
absolute.
so blessed.
The doctors couldn't explain it.
I used to work in the hospital, in the ICU. I mean, something like that in Switzerland, and with a broken kidney and everything is just failing.
Yeah.
And the corona.
Yeah. Well, you're familiar then with the ECMO machine.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it's being intubated for, 20 days, 21 days, 3 weeks, in that coma for 30 days on a ventilator. I was weaned off the ventilator, I think it was around the 19th of April, but my lungs just weren't ready yet, and they had to reintubate me again for 3 or 4 more days. So it was just shy of 30 days that I was intubated.
That explains why you had these 3 near-death experiences.
Yes. Before, and a lot of people ask me, well, when did they happen? Well, I don't know. I was in a coma. I couldn't tell you. I can tell you it was from March the 30th to somewhere prior to receiving convalescent plasma on April the 10th. I can tell you it's in that window somewhere that I experienced 3, maybe even 4 near-death experiences. And I will apologize for my voice if it goes out, because being intubated for so long, I have a damaged vocal cord. And that's a small price to pay.
Randy, don't be, your life, you are here with us to share your story. This is a big gift. We are so blessed to have you back here, really.
Well, thank you.
And I hope you can still bless many people that will be watching this.
It gives me, I always get so excited to share my story, because it's one of a miracle. It's one of a miracle. It's one of family love, and it's one for advocating for those that you love that cannot advocate for themselves.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful story, and I am writing it. Hopefully it will be out here in the spring.
Because
I'm writing a book.
Are you writing a book?
Yeah.
I'm so excited. That will be a very nice book, because now with the corona now, everyone wants to know. Yeah.
Because it goes into my family. It goes into the way that I was raised. It talks about my non-belief in God, and how that all changed and transitioned because of my near-death experiences. But I can tell you, my consciousness and I was in a very dark tunnel.
So this was your first.
This was, well, again, I don't know the sequence,
Okay. Yeah.
you know, but I remember my consciousness waking up, and I knew I had died. And let me tell you before I get started, I had dreams, I had hallucinations, and I can tell the difference
Medications, yeah.
between
Yes.
those, and tell the difference. But then I had this third area that is so, initially, it was so hard to describe because I didn't know what I had been through. I didn't know what I had experienced, you know? And until you get familiar with near-death experiences, and I'm reading and educating myself, and it was like, my God, that's me. I was there. I saw that. I did that, you know? But I remember my consciousness waking, and I was in this tube or the tunnel, and I wasn't falling real quickly, but I was moving through the tunnel. And on each of this tunnel were almost like airplane windows, tiny little openings. And outside of this tunnel, I could feel the warmth of a very bright light. I could just feel the warmth of it. And I knew I had died. I said to myself, you're dead. But where am I traveling to? Where am I going? But I felt so much at peace. No anxiety. I wasn't scared. I was just so calm. It was unbelievable. And I could see the light as we passed these small little windows. I could see the outside, but it did not penetrate into the tunnel, you know? And I was just not aware of how, when I was traveling, what was going on, you know, that I knew I was dead, but I didn't know what I was experiencing this. And I came out at the end of the tunnel, and I was in a beautiful room. Absolutely. It was the most beautiful room I've ever seen in my life. It was all gold, outlined in gold, the walls. It had arches, big arches. I think there was like three or four on each side of the walls. And the arches were all outlined with gold. There was big chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. There's a big vaulted ceiling. Almost like the cathedrals in Europe, how they have the big vaulted ribbed ceilings. That's how this room was. Yeah. And it had stained glass windows all around the room. And it had some water fountains and things. It was just absolutely beautiful, beautiful room. And I could sense there was activity in the room, but I could not see any activity. And I was standing on a mezzanine, and there was a gold railing in front of me, and I was standing on a mezzanine looking down into this room. And a spirit approached me from my right-hand side. And I remember turning to the spirit, and it was a middle-aged man. He had a beard and long dark hair, olive skin. And I said, this room is absolutely stunning. I said, I've never been in a room like this before. And he goes, yes. He said, this is one of our most favorite rooms. And when we stood and talked, you know, you're not aware of time in heaven, you know? Yeah. So I couldn't tell you if I was there for a few minutes or a few hours. But we stood talking about how beautiful this room was. But he finally said to me, he said, you don't belong here. He said, you have to leave. And he pointed me to some wooden doors, big, tall, beautifully carved wooden doors. And I remember moving toward those doors, and they opened up, and I walked out into a magnificent city, absolutely gorgeous city. So the buildings were just as tall as you could see. And they were almost like a yellow gold color with opaque windows. Just absolutely stunning city. And again, I could sense the movement, but I couldn't see anything. So as I was going through this city, I remember passing parks, and we talked briefly about the tulips in Amsterdam, beautiful they are, but the colors didn't match that. They were so alive and so brilliant in color. The greens were just as bright of green you could ever even imagine.
So these colors were not here from Earth.
Oh no,
You don't have those.
no. I mean, I have seen the magnificent green hills of Scotland and Ireland, and how rich and beautiful that grass is, and the beautiful flowers of Amsterdam. I've experienced that. It doesn't touch it. It's absolutely magnificent. But as I was wandering down, I started to get lost. And suddenly I realized that I didn't know my way back. And how am I going to get back to where I was? And I started to get scared. I felt anxiety. I felt I was scared. I started to almost panic. Nobody's going to find me. And I sat down on this curb, and just, people were passing me, but I couldn't see them, and they weren't helping me. And suddenly I looked over my shoulder, and there was this beautiful white staircase going up into the sky. And I said, if I can get over to that white staircase, maybe I can crawl up, and maybe someone will be able to find me. And I crawled over there, and I started crawling up this white staircase. And suddenly I heard a man's voice yell out, "There he is. There's Randy. Get him." And it felt like somebody grabbed me by my shirt collar and just whisked me right off of those steps. And I went back into my little dark, sedated world. I was gone. Steps.
Wow.
Now, I've been asked before, if it was heaven, why did God allow you to suffer? Why did he allow you to feel scared and lost? And I've had people ask, you sure you weren't in hell? I said, no, he had to let me do that. He had to let me suffer and get scared. It's almost like the lost sheep. I think it's Luke. I'm still learning the Bible. It's something that I've never read in my life, and I'm starting to read it. And
that's good.
But I was the lost sheep, and that shepherd found me. And he had to let me feel scared. He had to let me feel that isolation and of being alone, and then being found and being loved. So he had to let me experience that because of my need for physical evidence. And during another near-death experience, I was back in that city. I went back to that city. I was in a different section of that city, but I knew where those steps were. And I said, if I can make it back to those steps, I can be found. And I went back into that city, and I went back to those steps. And I sang. And that same voice came in. There he is. There's Randy. Get him. This time I turned around quickly. And it was an older gentleman with long white hair, either a goatee or a beard, a white beard or a white goatee, in a beautiful white robe, beautiful golden white robe. He's the man that jumped. He's the man that grabbed me off those steps.
Oh.
He's the man that saved me. When he grabbed me, though, I went back into my little dark, sedated world. And
so this is now the second time that he grabbed you.
Yes.
So the second experience was not so long, not so.
It wasn't so long, and it wasn't so stressful, because when I was there again, I knew I died. as soon as I got there, I said, I've been in this city before. I know where I'm at. And I was steps, and I went back. I mean, it was just as beautiful of a city, you know, that I saw before. But I went back to those steps, and he grabbed me again. Like I said, I'm a hard-headed guy. I'm pig-headed, you know. I don't give up. But he grabbed me again off those steps.
Don't you think that heaven has many levels? Like
Yes.
I had one guest, and she said there are 3 levels, and maybe you were just, I don't know, maybe you went one level too far where you're not supposed to.
I believe in all my heart that I was on that first level of heaven, because I didn't have a life review. Many people have life reviews.
Oh.
And I didn't experience that. Some tell me that room that I was in, that beautiful golden room, is actually the Hall of Records. And I went to the Hall of Records, but my name wasn't on the list. And that's why I was sent away. So it's almost like a welcome center, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
You know? But I wasn't there. I wasn't allowed to go deeper into heaven, the different levels. And I do truly believe that they are different realms of heaven that you can go to.
You could feel the presence of people, but you could not see them.
I could not see them, right. I know we had 3 near deaths, but let me share a 4th one here real quick with you, or another one real quick with you that many tell me that was a near-death experience. And I'm starting to believe that it really was, because my consciousness awoke, and I was moving down this dirt path, and the brilliance of those flowers and trees lined this dirt path. It was just absolutely stunning. And suddenly a little boy appears, and he had no shirt on. He had a little pair of shorts on, and he had like a bowl haircut. Remember what we call a bowl haircut?
Yes.
He had a bowl haircut, and he was very animated. And he came out and he goes, "Follow me, follow me, follow me." So I followed him, and he took me into this building, and he told me to go wait in this room. He goes, "Go wait." He goes, "I'll come get you." Mm-hmm. And I was in this room. It was a very beautiful room. It was outlined with red leather type of seating, you know, and big picture windows. And I remember looking out one of the picture windows, and a beautiful stream was running underneath the building. And again, lined with all of those beautiful flowers and trees. And I was just standing there. Again, I knew I had died. I mean, it was quite accepting. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting there looking at this beauty of this picture, and this little boy comes back, and he says to me, he goes, "I'm sorry, you have to leave." And I said, "Well, I don't want to." I said, "This is beautiful." You know, I said, I feel so accepted. And mm-hmm. He goes, No, your room isn't ready. You have to leave.
Your room, he said.
He said, "Your room isn't ready." Oh. I will go and pray for you. And my room wasn't ready. And he sent me back. And just that quick, I was back into my little dark, sedated world. My most significant one is the one here that I'll tell you about, is that I woke up, again, my spirit woke up again at the end of that tunnel. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I got out of the tunnel, I was in, many have described it as a void, a big, dark void.
What is a void?
A big open area with nothing in it.
Okay.
But it wasn't pitch black dark. It was like late dusk. You know what I mean? It was that type of a darkness. Mm-hmm. And there was nothing around. But a spirit approached me. and he indicated that I needed to follow him. So I followed him into this void. And you've been to the theater,
Yeah.
and you're sitting there in the theater, the stage is pitch black.
Yes.
And suddenly a light comes on over in the corner and illuminates an actor.
Yes.
It illuminated my mother-in-law, my deceased mother-in-law. She was sitting on a stool, very regally, very straight up, proper, very regal. And her hair, she had long, dark hair, and her hair was all pulled up into a bun. And she had a beautiful white ribbon around her hair. And she had this beautiful white gown on, and a white ribbon at the waist, and she was just beautifully 30s. I would think she was in her about 35 or so years old, and she was sitting there, and she looked over at me, and I yelled at her. Her name's Dolores. I said, Dolores, Randy, it's Randy, I'm here. And she wouldn't acknowledge me. She turned and looked away from me.
But she could hear you. Or you think she could hear you?
Well, I felt that there was some type of a barrier between me
Veil.
and her. And many have told me that, well, that was the veil of death. And they didn't want to acknowledge me to move through that veil. They wanted me to stay on the opposite side of the veil.
Yeah, because it's not yet your time.
Right. So suddenly, a young man runs past us, and it was my deceased brother-in-law. He ran past us, and I knew it right away that it was Mark, right away. But he didn't acknowledge me. He didn't acknowledge his mother. He just ran real fast. So my spirit guide indicated that I needed to move on. I needed to move further. We followed him further into this darkened area. And as I did, that light that was shining on my mother-in-law slowly dimmed away, and she disappeared. Now, you got to remember, in heaven, our vision is like 360 degrees. You can see. So even as I passed by her, I could see behind me where her light slowly dimmed, and she just disappeared.
Oh.
And as I was moving through, there was a lot of orbs of light passing me. Some had human form, just orbs of light dancing and moving past us as we moved through this darkened area. And I remember being so excited. I said, oh my God, I saw Dolores. I want to see my mom. I want to see my dad. And I was so excited. And all of a sudden, off in the distance, a light started to come back on. And it was my dad, my mom, and my sister. All have deceased. And they saw me, yelling at them. I was yelling, Mom, Dad, Gina, it's Randy, I'm here. And they turned their backs. They turned their backs on me.
But they saw you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I saw them. Not as clear as what I saw my mother-in-law. I saw my mother-in-law. I think I was only 5 or 6 feet away from my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
I was very close, but my parents were further off in the distance.
But you said they're far, but you have now your glasses on. So could you see better there?
Oh, I didn't have any glasses.
So
Not in heaven.
Very sharply.
Oh, yeah. No, I could see very good. And it was just my conscious. I wasn't aware of a body. I wasn't aware of, in all of my NDEs, I was not aware of having a body at all. And
also the energy you have, your guardian angel, was there some like a form or were they?
He was an orb of light in human form. I didn't see features, but it was an orb of light in a human form that was telling me to come forward, to walk with him deeper into this dark area. So I was standing there again, yelling at my parents and my sister, all excited for seeing them. And off in the distance, way behind me. I don't know what brought my attention to it, but there was this orb of light, and he was moving very quickly toward me. And he was approached me from my right-hand side. And he stopped right in front of me. And I saw his face for a split second. It wasn't long at all. But he tells me, he says, "Tell Madison at the salon her grandfather is okay." And I'm a veteran. I did 20 years in the United States Air Force. I'm a veteran. And I knew he was a veteran. I just felt it, that he was a veteran. Didn't tell me, I just felt it. And that's the way it seems like communication is passed on. It's not verbal. It's almost telepathic. You feel it. You feel information coming to you. Like when my spirit guide would tell me to follow him or to move forward, I just felt it. I mean, it was just something he didn't speak. I just felt, move forward, follow me type of thing, you know?
But this spirit that went to you running, was it also like the one, your spirit guide, without like, just like a...
Yep, he was an orb, a white orb, okay? And like I said, when he's in front of me, I saw his facial features briefly, just for a second. But he moved over. Once he told me, "Tell Madison at the salon her grandfather's okay," he moved over to a white porch. And he sat down on a white porch. And he started making, now this is just a human figure white orb. And he started making red, white, and blue ribbons and American flags. And it was at that time my spirit guide told me I had to leave. And I went back into my little dark, sedated world. I was gone. So the next thing I really remember is waking up. The nurses and things were trying to get me awake. And they finally allowed my daughter, Lisa, the nurse, they finally allowed her to come and stay with me. And she came there. And like I said, it was the first family member I saw for 6 weeks when she walked into my room. So she stayed with me. They wouldn't let her leave. When she got into my room because of COVID, they wouldn't let her leave. So she stayed with me day and night and helped me. And I told her after a few days that she was there, I said, "Lisa," I said, "I need to tell you something." I said, "Because I don't know what happened to me." And I told her about my dreams. My dreams more involved people that are still living. They involved my family members, people that were still alive. I had dreams of. And my hallucinations at the time, I didn't think but thinking back, they were crazy, I remember I remember waking up one time and I saw this awful music playing. I mean, it was just terrible music playing, very loud. And I looked up on the ceiling and there were 6 panda bears dancing on the ceiling. And I remember saying, "Oh man, if I'm dead, I must be in hell because there's no way I can listen to that for eternity." These 6 dancing panda bears. Oh.
That cannot be your near-death experience.
So they finally went away. And I had other hallucinations, just as crazy and stupid as well. But, I had this other area that was it's just so real, It just became so hard to explain. But I explained it to my daughter, what I had gone through, and I told her about Madison. And she said to me, she said, "Dad, who's Madison?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know a Madison." And she said, "Salon?" She goes, "I don't think I've ever heard you use the word salon." I said, "No, it's not." Yeah, I said, it's a barber, it's a hairdresser, never use the word salon. And she said, "Well, how are we ever going to find Madison?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "But I want to." I said, I feel that this veteran fellow veteran gave a message that I got to find her, you know? So I had to learn to walk again. And they sent me home in a wheelchair. I had some physical therapy in my room.
Mm.
And they got me well enough I could kind of get around on a walker. But I was also in a wheelchair because I would tire out very, very easily. I had lost about 35 pounds. And
That is a lot.
yeah.
Within
and
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And my vocal cord was damaged, so I couldn't swallow, so I was on liquid diets and things.
You had to learn how to swallow then.
I had to learn to swallow again. I had to learn how to walk again. And I remember telling my physical therapist early on, I said, because I was struggling, I was so depressed. I said, just push me in the corner and leave me alone, please. Just push me in the corner and leave me alone, And God bless her, she was an angel. Mm-hmm. And she said, no. She said, I'm not putting you in the corner. You're going to walk. And her name's Nicole, and she was absolute angel.
Oh, thank you, Nicole.
Absolute angel, All my nurses were. A couple of them I'm still in contact with still, And so I was home. They sent us home. And for some reason, I started looking for, I don't even know what I was looking for, but I was rummaging through my dresser drawer, at the house. Business card. I found a business card. And it was for a barbershop in our town. So I took it out to Lisa and I said, would you call the barbershop and find out what they're doing for haircuts with COVID? I said, I'd like to get my hair cut. So she said, okay. So Lisa moved home. When I got sick, she moved home. And so she was living with us to take care of me. And she came back into the bedroom and she started questioning me. And I told her, I said, I'm the interrogator. You don't, what the heck, what are you questioning me for, So she said, where did you get this card? Mm-hmm. And I said, I have no clue where I got it. It was in my dresser. She goes, well, how long have you had it? I don't know, Lisa. I don't know. I just found it. I don't know. What's the problem? And she goes, have you looked at this card? And I said, no. What's the problem? She goes, I think we found your Madison. Mm. And she handed me the card. And written on the card was Madison Logan.
Oh my God.
So I said, well, call and get me an appointment with Madison.
But where was this calling card from? I mean, this business card from?
I don't remember picking it up. It was in my dresser. I do not remember picking it up. And how long it was there, how long it's been there, I have no clue. But I found it in my drawer, So she called. So she took me down. I wasn't driving because I was in my walker. Mm-hmm. And she took me down. And it was a barbershop that I had been to before. And Madison and I are good friends now. And Madison told me that she may have cut my hair once or twice before, but nothing on a regular basis, Mm-hmm. And so I was sitting there and she was cutting my hair. And I said, Madison, I said, can I ask you some personal questions? And she says, yeah. What? And I said, well, Madison, I said, are both of your grandfathers alive? And she goes, no. She said, the one grandfather that I was closest with passed away less than a year ago. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. I said, was he local? Did he live here in Florida? And she goes, no. He lived in Iowa. Now, Iowa is about 4 states to the north of us.
Oh.
It's about 1,200 miles away from where I live. Okay. And she goes, no, he lived up in Iowa his whole life, And she said, I'm only here because I'm here with my husband, who was a local doctor in physical therapy. He came down here for work. And she says, we're going to move back to Iowa soon. And I said, oh, okay. I said, was your grandfather a veteran? And she says, yes. She says, he was a veteran. And I think your grandfather came to me during my near-death experience. I said, I think he came to me. He has a message for you. And she looks at me like I have a third eye, you know. And I said, Madison, he said, tell Madison Taslan that her grandfather is okay. He wants you to know he is okay. She's crying. I'm crying. Lisa's crying, you know. People are probably in the barbershop saying, don't go to that barber. She'll make you cry, you know. So we all calmed down enough. And I said, Madison, I said, he moved over. He came across in front of me and he moved over to a white porch. Is that significant to you? Is that important? She said, that would have been his house where he lived in Iowa. She said, it had a white porch on it. And he loved sitting on his white porch. She goes, after he retired, he would sit on his white porch every day and watch people go by. And I said, Madison, I said, he started to make red, white ribbons and flags. I said, is that important to your family somehow? She stepped back. She took a step back and just looked at me, tears streaming down her face. And she said to me, he belonged to the American Legion, which is a military for veterans, American Legion. And she said every Veterans Day, her whole family would go down to the American Legion, and help make red, white, and blue ribbons and American flags to the veterans' graves. Every Veterans Day, they would go help him make these red, white, and blue. So here I received a message from a man I didn't know to a young lady I didn't know. And he gave me enough information that I was able to find her, validate exactly what he said. He gave me that information to allow them to know that it came from him, because I didn't know him. I'd never been to Iowa.
Incredible.
You know, I'd never been to Iowa. And I talked to his wife, Kathy, and because Madison told her grandmother about this, and she wanted to talk to me. So we talked, and she said, did you see his face? And I said, just very briefly, very, very quickly. She sent me a picture, and it was a picture of a young man, dark hair and a slender face in a military uniform. And I called her back and I said, Kathy, I'm positive that's who I saw. I said, I saw that face. I said, it was only for a split second, but I'm positive that's exactly who I saw. And she goes, let me tell you another story. She said, this is the second time John, that's his name, John. It's the second time John has sent her a message. And I said, well, please tell me this, the first time. Tell me that story. Yeah. And she said, it was right after he died. And she said, I was going through his belongings and I found a business card with a phone number and a name on it. And it was to an insurance company. She said, so I called the company. I dialed the number. And she says, a young man answered the phone. And she said, is this individual there? You know, that she said, looking for a specific individual. And he goes, no, ma'am. He said, this is a private residence. He said, I don't know who you're looking for. And she said, oh, she says, I'm sorry. She said, I found this business card. Husband just recently passed away. And she said, business card. And she says, so, you know, I had this phone number on it. And he goes, well, what phone number are you trying to call? So she told him. And she says, no. He says, ma'am, he says, you're calling California. He said, you called a private home in California. She goes, where are you calling from? And she goes, oh, I'm calling from Iowa. And he goes, oh. And he said, I'm sorry. He said, what was your first name? And she goes, oh, my name's Kathy. And he stopped and he paused. And he said, you're Kathy, Iowa. And she goes, yeah. He goes, let me tell you a story. He said, 4 months ago, he goes, I was in a very bad motorcycle accident. And the paramedics told me when they pulled me off the street, I was dead. He said, but the only thing that I could hear was somebody yelling at me, tell Kathy from Iowa, John is okay. Tell Kathy from Iowa is okay. And he goes, I remember yelling at him, I don't know Kathy from Iowa. And he kept yelling at him, tell Kathy, Iowa, John is okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So John is a little pesky spirit. And he wants to, he loved his family deeply. And he wanted to be sure that they knew that he was okay. And that he was safe. Because
the second time, huh?
I'm sorry?
It's the second time that
Second time.
Approaching.
Yeah. Second. And John's death has very strong similarities with my father's death. My father died when I was very young. I was 16 years old when my father died of a massive heart attack when we were on vacation. And I tried to save him and couldn't. And I lived with that guilt for 50 years.
Maybe that explains why you have anxiety too and scared to die, because
Yes.
you witnessed that and you were so young and you had this trauma.
Right. And he died in 1969. So back then, if you know where mental health issues are today, people reach out for counseling and for help. Back in 1969, we didn't do that,
No.
So my mother never realized how I was struggling. And frankly, I never told her. It was something that I just lived with for over 50 years. And it really wasn't until I started to seek help from counselors and therapists after my near-death experience, because you've worked in the ICU. I came out of the ICU with ICU delirium and PTSD.
Yes.
So I sought help with that. I still don't like to go to sleep. I hate to go to sleep.
PTSD from where did you have that? From your military or?
Well, we through therapy we traced it back to some of the military things, but most of it from the ICU, coming out of the ICU.
Yeah, mostly yes. Mostly patient has that.
Yeah. And because I was in there for so long, 20 plus days, I was in the ICU, and so I suffered from this. And it wasn't till then that I realized how my father's death influenced me my whole life, and even in my career choices that I made in my career, because I was a criminal investigator.
Yeah.
And guess what my specialty was? Death investigation.
Death investigation.
I was a homicide detective.
And you are scared of dying, and
Yes.
you had this courage to do this work. Wow.
I could take other people's. I mean, I've been to more autopsies.
Oh.
All age of autopsies, from babies to senior citizens. I've seen some horrific deaths.
I cannot even imagine.
But I could handle that. But I couldn't handle my own. know. My master's degree is in forensic science.
Yes.
So I specialized, I specialized in death investigation and made that my life career. And it was only because of my dad's death and how he influenced me all through my life on the career decisions that I made. You know, but it wasn't until COVID that I was able to deal with it, deal with that, his death, deal with that anxiety of his death and what I lived with my whole life. And it set me free, you know.
I'm so happy for you, Randy.
I experienced heaven. I know what my life is going to be like once I do die. And I know it's terrible. I mean, my family went through stress like they never should have gone through, you know, because they were going to lose their dad to this crazy disease, you know. But they saved me, didn't they?
But
They fought and they saved me.
They fought. Oh, and they also had corona, from what I've heard.
Yes.
They all have corona too, but mild.
Both my son-in-laws had it. Both of my daughters have it. I have one daughter who never got it at all.
Oh.
My wife got it, but she was asymptomatic. She didn't have any symptoms whatsoever. She actually had to lie to them to get tested. And when they did test her, they found out that she had COVID antibodies. So she had it at some point, but she never was even sick. You know, my kids were just phenomenal. God graced me with such a wonderful family. You know,
so much to your family.
I mean, they just took a role. And my wife, God bless her, she just kept them all together, kept them on track, kept the family running.
Wow.
You know, if they needed help or guidance or, you know, like Lisa knew for 2 days that I was probably going to die. She just couldn't tell the family.
Yes.
She couldn't bring it to her. We're going to lose dad.
She knew exactly what's going on, you know.
Yeah. She couldn't sleep. She, you know, she was just on the phone, pacing, talking to people, talking to doctors, talking to specialists. You know, but it's a miracle, you know, and one that I don't know why God selected me. I didn't do anything special in my life to deserve it, but I survived. And I'm here to pass on this message. And, you know, it would be different if I wasn't able to validate my experience.
But this is, this is incredible.
I was able to validate it.
Yes.
You know? And I brought peace to that family to let them know that John is safe. Another part, I mean, I question myself every day, every single day. Why am I here? Why did I survive? Why me? You know, to have something else for me so special, I think that he sent me back, that he didn't take me like he did so many others. And I feel terribly sorry for those people because it is very stressful and very difficult to deal with. And no one should have to do that. But for some godful reason, I'm here. Yeah, hopefully in some way, my story will help people realize they don't have to live in fear. And there is a beautiful life. We don't die. We don't die. Our body wears out and dies, but your spirit doesn't. Your spirit doesn't die. It lives on, you know, because mine certainly did. Mine transported me somewhere. And I can only think that wasn't because the feeling up there is just incredible. Absolutely incredible.
So there's no more fear of dying for you, and you don't worry about the future.
No, not at all. And I know it's hard. You know, I've lost a lot of loved ones. You know, my mom, my dad, my sister, a brother-in-law, a mother-in-law, a father-in-law. You know, I've lost a lot of loved ones. And it's not easy. I know it's not easy on them. But one thing that I'm trying to get is that those loved ones have to be at peace with the thought that their mother, father, brother, whoever it is, their sister, their spirit lives on. They have just gone to a different dimension.
Yeah.
And that they are better, they are safe. And although it's very sad to lose someone, you'll see them again. You'll see them again.
So you saw all your deceased family there. So you think we will all see them again? And
See them again.
do you think there is judgment?
In heaven?
Yes, when we die, you know, as a Catholic, we know that there's a judgment day, and you're going to hell or you're going to heaven.
So is there judgment? I wasn't judged in any way, speaking for myself. I didn't feel like I was being judged. The books and the people that I have talked to about this say that they weren't judged either. That their near-death review that they've had is not judgmental, but it shows you how your life and how your decisions that you make affect others.
Okay.
And how you affect other people. If you were nasty to somebody, they show you that. And it's not judgmental. It's okay. Okay. But what we want you to realize and learn is that you being nasty to somebody also affects that person in ways that you don't understand.
Exactly.
So of this are the bad things of your life, and it's okay, we understand. But this is how you affected that person. This is the effect that you had on that person. So they show you the good and they show you the bad. But from what I understand and read, and like I said, talked to, is that no one felt judgmental. And I know I'm actually Catholic, and I know that Catholics believe that there's a judgment day.
Yes.
And I have to be quite honest, is that I have not gotten. You are one of the very few Catholics that have accepted my story.
Me?
Yeah, one of the very few. You are one of the very few that have accepted it.
Because
most reject it.
Because of my awakening,
Mm-hmm.
I still believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I am still. I know that we make mistakes, but it's more a spiritual
Yes.
belief. It's this, since I have my awakening, and I don't know. They said once you have this awakening or you have the near-death experience, there's no turning back.
Right.
You're just you are.
And that's exactly where I'm at now. I'm very spiritual. You know, I talk to God every day, you know, in one way or the other. I thank him 100 times a day.
That's nice.
So I'm very, very much spiritual, but and people can think what they want. But I found that for me, speaking for me, is that I don't need an organized religion to be spiritual, you know? And that's how I feel now, is that I don't need to be in such a regimented, controlled religion.
Yes.
That being spiritual allows me to open up and to blossom and to accept more of life, what life gives you.
That's what's happening to me. Exactly the same.
And I thirst for knowledge. It's funny, when I finished my master's degree, I told my wife, I am never reading another book as long as I live. And I don't read much. I'd never read much until after my near-death experience. And my wife is an avid reader. I've read
Oh,
more books this year than what she has. Because I just thirst for the knowledge, of what you experienced and what others have experienced, and how we can relate. Because it's a gift. This near-death experience is a gift that
you
has been
are
given to
so
me.
blessed.
And, it's a gift I have to share. And I've talked to a lot of people too that they've congratulated me on being able to interpret what happened to me so quickly on my near death. That some people have gone 20, 30, 40 years
So,
and they don't realize what they experienced. And it's
exactly.
not until they get into later in life where they maybe heard of experience, or maybe they go, about a near death experience. And now suddenly they say, could that have happened to me? And then they realize what they've been through, Or for me, I think my experience with death, I was with my sister when she passed. I was with my father when he passed. And you do feel a presence. I know with my sister,
Really?
it just felt of others in the room. I mean, the room was crowded with people, but it's just a different experience. And I've talked to some hospice nurses, and they say that it's quite common for, as someone is dying, to start talking, mom, dad, and they see these figures in the room with them. I remember my mom telling me when she was dying that she saw her grandfather or her father sitting on the chair in the room very clearly. And he was saying, come, it's time, and that was when she was dying. And I don't doubt her. I doubted her then
Yeah.
because I hadn't experienced that. But I don't doubt her now. Her
Now
father was
you're,
probably there. Yeah.
I'm also traumatized because working 12 years in Bern, Switzerland, urology
Oh, yeah.
at the ward. Sometimes I go to the ICU. They always chose me to die in my arms. And
Oh, yeah.
first, we believe before, Filipinas, our culture, we believe of ghosts. We believe
Yeah.
there are ghosts, and we are scared. So for me, that was very difficult for me to deal with deceased people. And I used to work at night when there's not so many nurses. So I was really terrified, and I questioned myself, why me? And I was really for a long time depressed about it.
Mm.
And then one nurse told me, don't take it as a negative thing, Marionette. She said, you have to take it as like a gift from
Yeah.
all these nurses here. They have chosen you. And yeah, and since she said that, I have realized that I have a little bit of gift, that I can feel those presence. I can just go inside a room or a house and I could tell right away, doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
of course, I was not thinking of that. I didn't want to accept that I had that gift. But once I have accepted it, then it was better for me to work.
Those people knew that you had a spiritual connection.
But that then I did not know. Just
Oh, yeah.
now, looking back now,
Yeah. They knew.
they knew that. I have no goosebumps. They knew that
Yeah, for
because
sure.
maybe because they were transitioning, huh?
Yes. And they could feel it. They could feel it from you. They could feel that positive energy coming from you,
Yes.
spiritual energy. So they came to you to help them transition. What a wonderful gift to have. And it's knowledge, isn't it? You didn't have the knowledge back then that you
No.
do now, So it's a knowledge thing. Because I think society doesn't prepare you you know, maybe prepare is not the right word, but
But
society just, it's so shunned, you know, it's shunned by many. Oh, death is evil, death is terrible, death, you know, and so we grow up that way, don't we? And we don't understand that transition. Now, you know, and that's where a lot of like the Filipinos and Tibetans, you know, I've read the book, Tibetan Book of Death and Dying, and that's a wonderful read. A little difficult, but it's a very wonderful read, very detailed on how people transition and help people transition during the death process. Tibetan Book of Death and Dying. And, you know, it's shed a lot of light on, for me as well, of things that I experienced and went through, especially with my relatives passing away.
So they also believe in life after death.
And reincarnation. Yeah.
In reincarnation. Do you believe in reincarnation?
I'm still out. I never did before, but
Me too. Never did before too.
I never did before, but now, you know, I'm on the cusp. There's something there. I think there is something there that allows us to come back. You know, there's so many people that say, well, we are sent here, our spirits are sent here in human form for a reason, you know, to learn. I've heard it explain it this way. Many in heaven look upon us as the chosen few, because our spirits have been chosen to come down in human form and live on earth to learn and to experience. Each one of us needs something different from another person, you know? And then we're brought back to share that experience and to share what we have learned. And then we are allowed to come back in a different realm or maybe a different form, you know, again, to learn. So we're really looked upon as explorers. And for those that aren't chosen like we are, I know it sounds weird, I know, but there's so much literature in that area. What really is more frustrating is that when you see what's going on in the world today, and especially here in America, you get so aggravated, not because of what's happening, but because of what I know. You know, if that person experienced what I experienced, would he be doing what he's doing? Or would they be making these they're making, you know? And that's what's so terribly frustrating right now, is that we know what lies beyond. And if only others knew, we would be a much more accepting and loving culture than where we're at now.
Exactly. That's what I'm always saying. All my guests also said this, you know, if we would, I mean, I did not have to like almost die to experience this, but I called God and I said, I'm giving up. I can't do this by my own. I'll give you everything, all my loads to you, because all my years, nothing changed. And I had the time, like I was very suicidal. So I thought, no, this cannot go on. You know, I have kids, and of course I love my kids, but you know, depression is it's a disease.
It is. It really is. I know. I suffered it for a very long time.
Also, really?
Oh yeah. And I still do today. I still get depressed today. Especially at nighttime, is when it really will set in. And like I said before, I hate sleep. I hate going to sleep.
But why do you hate going to sleep? Is it because of from the corona? What
Yeah,
happened to you?
me in ICU and in that dark environment, for so long, and I mean, I went to sleep and I woke up 25 days later. That was a bit of a shock to the system.
But did you know when you woke up? Did you had no feeling
No
of
clue.
time?
No clue.
So they told you and you were shocked.
Yeah. And for a long time when they told me, it didn't sink in.
No.
Yeah. You've probably experienced it before, but they would rub my sternum real hard and would say, "What day is it? What's the day? What's the month? What?" And I didn't even get close, trying to get my mind working again, to recall. But even when they told me today's the 21st of April, it didn't sink in. Wait a second, I came in here in March, It wasn't until really my daughter came in and was staying with me. And I said, "Lisa, what happened? What?" And she started to tell me. And I said, "You mean I had been out for 20 days, 21, 22 days?" She goes, "Yeah, you were in a coma for that long, I missed my one daughter's birthday. I missed so many things. That Easter, I missed Easter. I missed her birthday. And it's these things just all of a sudden dawn on you. Oh my God, I missed Kate's birthday. Oh my God, and because you're just wasn't here, Yeah, the doctors told me before that how I got better so quickly after. They still don't understand.
But
And no lasting effects. My kidneys are fine. My heart's fine. Liver,
until
lungs,
now,
everything's
until now.
perfect. Everything's perfect.
But Randy, I heard that many patients that has experienced near-death experience, and they were really like almost dying, and like yours, like the organs had almost failed or shut down, and then somehow they came back from that experience, and then the doctors are just stunned, like, how can you be so quick? Okay, recovered so fast, and doctors doesn't have any explanations for that. And now I hear from you, and you said that it's like, wow. Don't you think that's like a healing process too?
Oh, it had to be. Absolutely had to be. I know. I remember the doctor coming in and he said, "Okay," he says, "we're going to put you on oxygen. And the nurse standing there, she said, "But doctor, his O2 levels are 98 without oxygen." And he goes, "What?
Without oxygen?"
And he came over and looked and tested me again. And he goes, "How can that be?" He says, "You had a collapsed lung and they are absolutely completely filled with COVID. And we're not sending you home on oxygen?" And he just scratched his head and walked out of the room.
Even me, I'm just like this because I work in the ICU before, and like, wow.
Oh, my kidneys were so bad. I have my medical records. I got all my medical records, and they're talking about a kidney transplant. That if I did survive, that I probably will need a kidney transplant because my kidneys were so bad.
But prior to your NDE, your kidneys were good.
I did not have any underlying conditions. Nothing.
No, nothing. And you still had complications.
Nothing. And talks in there about the possibility of a kidney transplant after, if I survive. And my kidneys are perfect. I have no issues with them.
I have goosebumps. It's a miracle. You are a living miracle.
Yeah. I hate to I don't want to make it sound like, I'm boasting or.
No. It doesn't feel like that.
I am.
Very humble.
I am, and I don't deserve to be, but the God blessed me and there's a reason that I'm here, and I think it is to help share his story. So I'm just looking if I can ever share, if I can ever help, with technology of Zoom, if I can ever do anything for you to help spread my journey, I'd love to do it because it gets me excited when I do it.
Well, this has helped me myself to me.
Good.
Because I was like you before and hearing this and scared of Corona. And I told my mom, because my mom is getting crazy with Corona. She's not going out. She hasn't seen
God
us
bless
for
her.
so long because I used to live in Switzerland. So my family are still in Switzerland. And I said to her, when I will interview Randy, I want you to hear this man because he survived Corona. I said, Mom, when it's your time, it's your time. And she almost had a near-death experience, but it was something like horrific experience. And she's not yet ready to talk here on my channel. So she said, let everyone go in front of me and I will just listen and get the courage to tell people one day. But it's not like yours, hers is strange, also like a little bit like hell. So I told her, if you have experienced hell already and you have been given the second chance to live, so you should do it, live your life now, I mean, not hiding.
Yeah. And I appreciate just allowing me to tell my story and helping people and get the word out. And like you said before, maybe if we can change one life, one person's feeling or knowledge, that's all what we're hoping for, aren't we?
Yeah, that's what I said in my if I can just touch one soul with this channel, it's like mission accomplished. And I've heard from guests that they've been approached by people who needed the story, to hear the story, and like somehow they found the story on YouTube and they heard it, and some suicidals are not suicidals anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've read that. Yeah.
Can you imagine? So I am very happy, and I don't want to stop this, because I think I know my purpose, why I am here.
For sure.
For a long time I did not know that, and I am so happy because it's not only I love doing this, I also meet beautiful souls like you, I experience also myself, not near death experience, but just like, the fears of dying. And with this channel, I want to promote love, of course, and peace, but more like the awareness that death is not the end. Like you said, we don't die.
Yeah. No, we move on.
We move on.
We go home. We return home.
Oh, that's a question too. Did you feel home when you were there?
I felt totally accepted.
Wow.
At peace. I've told my wife and all my kids and everything, I've never felt so and such calmness and acceptance that I felt when I was there. And my dreams and my hallucinations, I didn't feel that. It's a totally different feeling. My NDEs that I had, those, totally different feelings that I had during those NDEs, as separate from my hallucinations and dreams. I didn't feel the same way, but totally accepted. You're totally at yourself and where you're at and what you're going through. I mean, there's no fear. The only time I was scared and feared is when he allowed me to get lost.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was found. And like I said before, he had to let me experience that,
Yeah.
That's the only way that I was going to believe what I had gone through.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's in split second, my whole attitude, my whole life within that short period of time. And something else is is funny. My daughter and I were just talking about this the other day. She was fighting, with the hospital and all that. On a couple of my dreams, different scenarios, but basically the same concept.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa, my nurse, was saving me. One time I got lost in the woods and hurt myself, and she came and saved me. And another time, something happened. I forget what again, but I knew Lisa was working to save me. Does that make sense?
But this was your dream, and
That was my dream. That was my dream. That she was saving me. But on the reality that I had no idea of.
She was.
She
was, yes.
Yeah, she was working to save me, but yet I had dreams of her saving me. And isn't that strange?
That is strange to me.
Yeah.
Because if
somehow spiritually they were telling me she's working to save you. And then she had a dream. She told me this other day, I didn't know it. It was Easter Saturday. So Good Friday and then Easter Saturday. That was April. She said that she finally fell asleep when she knew that I was going to get better.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And she had a dream where she was in a room, all white. The room was all white. And I came into the room and gave her a hug and a kiss and said, "Thank you."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then I disappeared.
Don't you think you went out of your body and she went out of her body and you met on that, in the middle?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how to even define that.
I have goosebumps now.
I don't know how to define that one. I really don't. I don't even know how to start explaining that.
But why did she just say it now? She mentioned it now. She forgot, or she wasn't ready.
I don't think she was probably ready to say it, because she said, "Did I ever tell you came and thanked me in a dream?" And I said, "Lisa, what the heck are you talking about?" And she goes, because she couldn't sleep for days. And she finally slept.
Can you imagine?
And told me what happened like that. And I said, "Well, I don't remember it, but I'm glad I was there to thank you, And how do you thank your kids? I mean, all they've done for me, how do you ever thank them for what they did for me? It's impossible. All I can do is give them my love and they're such wonderful kids, And my wife, like I said, we've been married 49 years and she was scared to death,
I can imagine how she felt.
Yeah. And she would manage to hang on and cooked she loves to cook. So she cooked for everybody and kept them on track and help, because they knew that and she told me before, she goes, "I knew you were in good hands with the kids trying to save you." So I just stepped back and left them do their thing.
That's what I love from your family. They really stick together, especially in those difficult times.
And in my book, I asked each girl to write a chapter on their feelings and what they experienced, what they did for me, and then what their feelings were on losing their dad. So each one took a chapter and wrote their own feelings and things in the book.
So are you busy now doing the book, or is the book finished?
It's not finished. I have the ending. I have to figure out how to end it, but the majority of the book is being edited now. It's in being edited.
Okay.
So like I said, I'm hoping that we can get it out hopefully by the spring.
Could you tell me then when it's out, please?
Oh, 100% certainly will.
I'm gonna buy some copies also for my mom.
Yeah,
But
it's called Surviving COVID-19, a family story to the veil and back.
Family story. What is your message to my mom? Please say it on this video.
Oh, your message, please live your life.
Her name is Marilena.
Marilena, live your life. God bless you. God will take care of you in all that you do. Go out and enjoy and live your life and enjoy your families while you all can. God is great. He will take care of you and the families in the future. I pray that you understand that and live in fear. Go out and live your life. You are sent here to learn and to expand your knowledge of things that are going on in the world. Please go out and do that, because that is your mission, to go out and do that and go out and love the world. God bless you.
Oh, thank you so much. That is not only for my mom, but for the whole viewers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bottom of my heart, Randy. Thank you.
Thank you.
First, the last thing I want to say, I would like to say thank you so much to your family. When I heard that story about your children, such a loving family, you pray together, you help each other. And this showed, this showed how good parents you are, you and your wife, that you how do you say that? You raise your kids so well. And if I had a hat, I would do like this, because it's not easy to be parents.
Only by the grace of God. I don't know what I did, but only by the grace of God. I came out with 3 wonderful kids, Yeah.
And they are blessed to have parents like you.
Thank you.
No,
so
seriously,
much.
and that's coming from my heart.
Thank
you so much, Randy. Please give my warm regards, love, and hugs to your family.
I will.
And thank you.
And I'm always here for you. I'm always here for you. If you just want to talk, we can talk. Thank
you so much. You're so nice. Thank you so much. I don't want to.
I love, I really enjoyed our time of just being ourselves and being able to talk this. So if you need a shoulder, if you need to talk, if you need to vent, whatever you need, I'm here. I'm here for you. You're doing a wonderful job.
You have given me your time, your story, because you are an angel sent from heaven above.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you.
No, really, your story is very inspiring, and it will inspire many, and I know that.